US-China trade talks continue in London to break a month-long impasse. High-stakes hurdles remain on critical minerals and chemicals, and sweeping U.S. tariffs hang in legal limbo. On Tuesday, U.S. Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick reported that high-level trade talks with China were progressing really well, and hoped for an evening wrap-up, yet acknowledged they might stretch into Wednesday to iron out remaining details. His remarks came after nearly 2 full days of technical and ministerial sessions at Lancaster House. U.S. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent, who co-led the opening day, told reporters he'd returned to Washington for a congressional commitment, leaving Lutnick and U.S. Trade Representative Jamieson Greer to continue as needed. The agenda covers 3 flashpoints. Rare earth minerals crucial for electric vehicles and defense systems, where China's recent export curbs have rattled automakers worldwide. Ethane exports. The U.S. dominates global ethane supply, nearly half destined for China. Washington's new license requirements threaten to strangle these flows. Semiconductor and AI chip controls. Washington seeks relief on rare earths in exchange for easing export restrictions on advanced chips. In early June, Chinese curbs on rare earths forced automakers like Ford and GM into crisis talks. Even as Beijing granted temporary 6-month export licenses to some U.S. auto suppliers, suggesting a possible thaw if negotiators reach a deal. Meanwhile, U.S. Commerce Department directives now require export licenses for ethane shipments to China, stalling multiple loaded vessels and prompting domestic price slumps. Critics warn these curbs could backfire, driving oversupply and squeezing producers. Last week's phone call between President Trump and President Xi Jinping set a positive tone, with both leaders framing the dialogue as constructive. Washington has signaled willingness to lift some chip controls if rare earth deliveries accelerate, marking a potential pivot in U.S. strategy. Despite optimism, analysts caution that China's deep market dominance, -70% of mining, 85% of refining, 90% of magnet production, gives Beijing a powerful bargaining chip. Any export freeze beyond technical details could cast a long shadow over global EV and aerospace supply chains. While U.S. and Chinese negotiators meet in London, the White House has fired off letters to all trading partners as a friendly reminder that a self-imposed 90-day pause on sweeping reciprocal tariffs expires in early July. Only a UK deal has been finalized so far. At the same time, U.S.-India trade talks have extended into this week ahead of the July 9th deadline, aiming to lock in preliminary agreements on digital trade and agricultural quotas, underscoring Washington's urgency to diversify trade winds. On June 4th, President Trump followed through on his vow to double steel and aluminum tariffs from 25% to 50%, igniting fresh disputes with allies like Canada and triggering threats of retaliatory measures. Yet Trump's most encompassing Liberation Day tariffs face legal uncertainty. On May 28, a U.S. trade court ruled the tariffs unlawful, only for a federal appeals court to grant a temporary stay, keeping them in effect while appeals proceed. The back-and-forth rulings have injected volatility into markets and left companies scrambling to plan amid shifting legal ground. Economists warn that without a clear, comprehensive agreement, supply chain disruptions may intensify, potentially driving up consumer prices and stalling investment. On the other hand, a successful accord could ease uncertainties, bolster business confidence, and stabilize global growth projections. Looking ahead, negotiators in London will push to finalize technical annexes on materials and controls. While politics back home, court deadlines, congressional testimony, and the looming July 9th tariff reset will keep the pressure high on both teams. As the clock ticks into Wednesday, Watch for statements from Secretary Lutnick and Ambassador Greer, who may emerge to declare a breakthrough or signal another marathon session. We'll continue to track every twist in this crucial trade chess match. Subscribe for continuing coverage and expert insights on trade policy.